Evening, everyone. Welcome to the Goffstown School Board meeting. I call the meeting to order at 7:01. You can stand and say the pledge with me. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we have correspondence, Brian?
We do not have any this evening.
All right. Commendations, good news. Lily?
Yeah, so I want to start off with a while back we had our homecoming week, which was very successful. We had the assembly, which was great after so many years of not having one. And then we had our dance, which was also very successful. Last week was Red Ribbon Week, where we acknowledged and basically brought awareness to substance misuse and substance misuse prevention in our school. So students wore red on that Friday, and it was really nice to see. And then a few students got to go to the Doubletree in Manchester for a breakfast to be recognized, which was very nice. Alice in Wonderland had their production. It went very well. And this morning was our Veterans Day breakfast, which also went very well. So
Great. Thank you, Lily.
thank you.
Lots happening at the high school. Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead, Wendy.
Things. At the middle school, both the B team for boys and girls both won the Division 5 championship.
Nice.
I will also mention that for the girls, they had an undefeated season, scored 61 goals, and they only had 4 goals against them all season long. So pretty impressive
Wow.
for both the boys and girls at middle school.
That's awesome. Thank you, Wendy.
Yep.
Anyone else? Commendations, good news? Oh, Ginny, go ahead.
I read something in the paper. Goffstown News had a full-page article about the FBLA, Future Business Leaders, and they did very well at their conference. And also, I wanted to say that Halloween just came and went, and I was so impressed with the kids from Goffstown and how amazingly polite and kind they are. When they come into your house and, you know, they say please and thank you, they take candy, they take whatever you tell them to, they come in one at a time, they don't rush in, and I just was so impressed with how polite the kids were on a day where usually they, you know, run in and jump and giving all the candy I can get and whatever. And also, I had several groups of older kids come, and I was thrilled because I think it's awesome that older kids go out and enjoy themselves and celebrate the holiday as well. I was glad to see them, and they were equally as respectful.
Nice. Thank you,
So,
Jenny.
congratulations to our kids.
Anyone else? Go ahead,
I
Ellen.
would just piggyback on what Jenny said. I've heard nothing but wonderful things about the village
Yeah.
and the kids that all go
Yeah,
down
a lot
there.
of 'em.
And this little neighborhood there that they go, and those people go crazy.
Yeah, they do with all the
homeowners go
decorations.
nuts up there.
Yeah.
But I've heard nothing but very positive things about how our children behave
Good.
in those public kind of settings. So.
Great. Thank you, Ellen. All right, anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I'll open to public comment. I don't see any public comment tonight, so I'll close it. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you were over here. Okay, come on up. There's a microphone over here. And just have a seat. Say your name and address for the record when you have a chance. Right here. You could, chairs right here, sweetie. You might want to bring another chair over. And if you have to, you could pull the microphone closer to you. So if you could all just introduce yourselves, that'd be great.
Hi, I'm Reva. I'm Daly. I'm Daisy.
Hi, welcome.
We are all in 7th grade and go to MVMS, and we are here to talk about starting a GSA in the middle school. and a GSA is an abbreviation for a Gay and Straight Alliance. It is basically when people from the LGBTQ community and straight allies come together to make a safe and inviting environment.
The goals of the GSA are to make LGBTQ members feel safe at school.
Hang on one second, sweet. We're just going to move the microphone closer to you so people watching can hear you. Go ahead.
The goals of the GSA are to make LGBTQ members feel safe at school, to raise awareness and to educate LGBTQ students on how they are treated on a daily basis. Helping LGBTQ students feel safe and accepting inside the school community. Helping allies understand that they are free to be themselves, straight or otherwise.
A GSA could be a big improvement because today nationally 68% of LGBTQ students feel unsafe at school because of their sexual orientation, and 97% of LGBTQ students heard gay used in a negative way, and 68% heard these remarks frequently and often. Active GSAs in schools result in better physiological well-being than students in schools without an active GSA. These include higher levels of self-esteem, lower levels of depression, and a lower likelihood of seriously considering suicide.
Bailey and I originally submitted the paper to start the club the second week of school, and now it has almost been 2 months without getting approval. We are here today to put this back into your minds and hopefully get it approved. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for coming. Those papers, can we give to Mrs. Moran so she can type in your speeches in the minutes? Thank you. Thank you, guys. And you're more than welcome to stay or you can leave. But thank you for bringing them down tonight.
Yeah, just one. Just one.
Thank you, girls. All right, so any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'll close that. So we're moving on to approving. We have 2 sets of minutes, one from the 19th and 24th of October.
Move the 19th.
Okay. Do I have a second for the 19th?
I'll second.
By Caroline. Did anybody see anything? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining. Okay, we're unanimous on the 19th and the 24th.
I'll move the 24th.
Okay, by Ellen, do I have a second?
I'll second.
By Caroline. See anything on there? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, we are unanimous. So now we're getting into committee reports, Finance Committee. Dan, do you want to start with the
We have a
manifest?
manifest, and I would like to offer a motion that we approve the manifest for this evening in the amount of $2,823,941.65.
And do I have a second?
Second.
By I got Caroline, sorry, Ellen.
Nope, nope.
All right, go ahead, Dan.
We have a bit of the normal expenditures. We have payroll, taxes, the benefits. That's 2.2 million of the total 2.8. Some of the SPED activities, special education, would be transportation, 84,162. A whole lot of other out-of-district and contracted expenditures, which are the balance of the $140,500. So a lot of those. A couple of new names we could see, really, the Home for Little Wanderers and Vermont Permanency. Those are a couple of, and they,
And our final one.
yep, they're for what we do. General expenses are $367,460. The SAU assessment for $171,742. We spent some money for Gov Connection, which are the laptops for the staff, a little over $42,000. The Goffstown Truck Center for the kindergarten, late bus, and athletics, just about $33,000. Eversource for electricity, $26,500. The Home Depot Pro, which are custodial supplies and equipment, just under $13,000. Cengage Learning for some textbooks for the high school, $12,782. Amazon for school supplies, books, equipment, $12,400. Stantec is consulting that we did for the engineering. We have some things in the Goffstown, the high school floor, and the Mountain View Middle School project, $10,673. Impact Fire Service, we had some repairs on the sprinkler system at Mountain View, $10,500 plus. Blue and Service, repairs to the Bartlett boiler, $8,500. It's good that that got found when it wasn't really, really cold. Goffstown Village Water for our the high school, Maple Ave and Glen Lake, $84.42. Some propane to Dead River for $74.55. Brain Pop, we talked about that during the budget, now that it's even across the two schools of Maple and Bartlett, $53.59. And one of the things that we don't normally see, DB Teens, these are some of the guidance, behavior, I'm not going to call it continuing education, it was something like staff promotion, something to do, it's about a 10 grand, we paid 5,000.
It says PD, professional development.
Yes, yes, that's what the PD is, sorry. Performance Food Service, we bought food and commodities from them for just under $20,000. That is the manifest. Further questions can be answered by Mr. Scott.
Anybody have any questions? All right, seeing none, we have a motion, we have a second. Take a vote. All those, do you have a question?
Nope.
Oh, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, we're unanimous, we pass. Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
All right, is that it?
I think so, because some of the other things that we discussed are going to be part of the superintendent's report, or when
Further
we do,
on.
you got it.
Okay. Budget Committee, Ellen?
I can do it,
Okay.
because I was there.
Were you there? Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. I know Jared's not here tonight.
Well,
Yeah,
Jared
so-
and I going back and forth.
Right.
Sometimes I can't go, sometimes.
Exactly.
You can't go, so.
Okay, go ahead,
So
Scott.
Jared did attend last Thursday and I went as well. The Budget Committee was able to review the district budget, Bartlett, Maple, and Glen Lake School. Asked a lot of good questions. There were no motions for any type of reductions during that meeting. This coming Thursday, they'll be reviewing the Mountain View Middle School and the high school budgets. Then the next meeting, which would be on November 15th, will be any other questions that may come about. And also, a topic that we'll be discussing later would be the GESS contract, and that will hopefully be on the agenda as well.
All right, go ahead, Ellen.
Just, Scott, I emailed Jared about it. The 15th is also, unless it's changed, a C&E meeting, which I need to go to.
No, C&E is the 14th.
Okay, so it is it is the Monday night.
Yep,
Very good. Thank you very much. I will be there.
okay. So you're all set, Scott?
Yeah.
Okay. PNC, Retta?
Yes, PNC met this evening, and we reviewed the proposed mission statement one last time. We'll be talking about that under old business in a little bit. Also, the Dreamkeeper and Cornerstone Awards are coming up again. We'll be making that public very shortly, so the public can nominate people for, the Cornerstone is for the community, people outside of the school district, and the Dreamkeeper is for faculty staff within the school. So these are usually in recognition of people going above and beyond in many different levels, and the application form or the nomination form has all of the details there. So we talked about the deadline, and we were originally thinking about December 8th, I believe. But we're going to move that back to December 2nd because PNC meets that following Monday, and we'll bring the nominations forward to the full board for their consideration. So more to come on that. We'll continue to push it out to the schools through the newsletters and on the website. We also began talking about a communication plan. As you recall from the retreat, we started talking about a lot of things that we would like to put in place to get information out more effectively and efficiently. We didn't go into the details this evening, but we will continue to work on that to bring something forward to the committee for their consideration. So, awesome.
What happened to the 3 from the board thing?
The 3 things, we did talk about that this evening. It is, I think it is still happening at this point. The format has changed a little bit, and Brian, I don't know.
It is happening still. It's taking longer than it used to.
Because I haven't seen it in a very long time. So.
And those are things that the communication plan will address, and we'll think about how to get it out there. Is it just the video, or do we also want to consider some other things? So we'll get that into the plan so we can be more regular with that. And I think that was it. I did want to just remind folks that there are 2 webinars coming up through the New Hampshire School Board Association, and these are free to us. Wednesday, November 16th, it's an overview for special education law for school boards. And then on December 14th, also at noon, default budgets and how they work.
What was it?
The first.
What were you
Special
calling?
education.
Yep.
The
first one.
14th, December 1.
Default budgets.
Oh, default budgets.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Default budgets. So.
And your next meeting is December 8th?
December 2nd, right?
December
5th, right?
No,
Fifth.
no. The first Monday,
Okay.
whatever that date is. Hold on. I think
This
it might be
5th,
here.
yeah. I think you're right. The 5th. Okay. All right. Thank you, Retta. Anybody have questions? Okay. Facilities Renovation Committee? We don't have that anymore, so we need to take that out. All right.
Now, just a
yes.
question. Do we need to, they have completed and fulfilled their obligations, so does that automatically, I don't remember what our motion was, to create the
The
committee?
motion was to create. So at this point, it may make sense for the board to formally
Disband, or?
Disband it?
You know, so I can make a motion if you like.
Or do we want to wait for Jarrett to get back since he was chair of that
Really?
committee?
Yeah, why don't we wait and see if the...
It was my I can speak pretty confidently in this one. It was my understanding, that he told the group that the group was done.
We're done.
Yeah.
Okay. So we need
He'd have no objections if you,
to go forward?
Yeah.
Okay.
Retta had a question.
Oh,
Yeah,
go
I just
ahead.
had a question, and I haven't checked on the website, but is that something that we are sharing with the community, or is it just in with all the minutes if somebody wanted to look at that?
it's on the website.
It is on the
Yeah,
website, thank you.
Connor put it on, so I'll double check, but he told me that he
Oh,
did.
Yeah,
All right.
thank
You mean
you.
the presentation is
Yes.
available to the public?
Right, correct.
Just really well
All right,
done.
so then why don't we do the motion if Scott is good with that?
Okay.
Go ahead,
I
Dan.
make a motion that given that the Facilities Renovation Committee has completed their charge and delivered to the school board their report, I move that we dissolve that committee.
Perfect.
Second.
Second by Ellen. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, we're unanimous.
And further give thanks for their hard work.
Yes,
for all
it was a
those-
big,
Absolutely.
big job for them.
I do have a question that sort of goes with it, if I may.
Mhm.
One of the recommendations was to constantly be reviewing the enrollments and projected, anything like the projected enrollments and watching how that happens. And we were discussing how all these things are coming up to the public in March and future years. Is there a committee or would leaving it to our administration to keep following that? Is that something administration is comfortable doing on
We
their
are.
own and just letting us know like you have
We
been?
are.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Thanks, Ellen. Okay, policy, we have a meeting next Monday, the 14th at 5:30 upstairs at the SAU. And we have second reads coming up later in the agenda. C&E? Jenny?
C&E has not met. We will be meeting November 14th at 7 p.m. at the SAU.
Okay. SAU policy, we have not set up a date for that, correct, Denise?
Right.
Okay, so we got to get some dates out. So the SAU board meeting and budget hearing will be set for December 14th at 6 o'clock at the SAU. And superintendent's report.
Thank you. Just a few things for the board to be aware of this evening. Mrs. Kohler has worked with our Schoology team in creating a course for all parents. So all parents have been enrolled in the Schoology onboarding course where they can go in and learn more about the platform. There are videos and tutorials and a number of other resources that we would encourage parents to sign up for and take a look at. We have a new online reporting system that we have been developing that aligns with our See Something, Say Something, and we're ready to roll out an online anonymous reporting for any safety threats. So we're in the final stages. As a matter of fact, Mrs. Kohler was testing the notifications today, so we will be ready to go live on that very shortly. This was something that for a long time I had been concerned about an anonymous reporting method, but I'm really good with this, and I think we've got a great team that did a really wonderful job, and I think that this will be yet another important tool for all of us to keep our schools safe. The New Hampshire SAS data, which is our achievement data, has been released, and Mrs. Kohler is planning to do a presentation for the board in December, so I believe we'll be doing that at our second December board meeting after C&E gets a first view of that at their meeting in December. The good news is New Hampshire scored very, very high on the NAEP assessment. That's not the same as the SAS assessment. Sorry, these are different acronyms. New Hampshire did very well in the NAEP assessment. The NAEP is the national assessment that you may recall me complaining about repeatedly at length for multiple years, because we don't get any school-specific data. It's the state as a whole. The good news is New Hampshire continues to perform at the top of the country, and the good news further is Goffstown continues to outperform the state averages. So sneak peek for Mrs. Kohler's presentation is all really good news. So we're very proud of the work that our teachers have done, our students have done. We recognize that some kids have lost ground, particularly in the area of mathematics, as we anticipated, and we put a lot of support systems in place to support kids through that process. So more to come on that. We wanted to let you know that although we expect lower than usual costs for busing this year due to a lack of drivers, so the board will recall that we have 22 buses budgeted, and I think currently, Scott, are we at 17? 15. So we're at 15. However, in our contract also is the price of diesel fuel is $1.50 a gallon. So anything over $1.50 a gallon we get as an extra fuel surcharge. So right now diesel fuel is around $5 a gallon. So we are
a little lower for municipalities and school districts, but it's a lot higher than it was last year because they had a contract price, which they no longer have.
So we are, although we're expecting not the full cost because we don't have the full complement of buses, the ones that we are running, we're expecting a bigger charge for the fuel cost this year. So just wanted you to have that information. I wanted to let the Goffstown board know that you have a meeting on March 7th, which is the day before the election, and I just wanted to let you know I have a conflict that evening, so I will not be able to be here. However, I absolutely guarantee you that Mrs. Kohler will be here, along with Mr. Gross and Mrs. Moran, so thank you in advance for that. Mr. Bourget asked me to let you know, I think he saw several of you this evening. Any board members that would like a new laptop device, we did get the new devices in. So if you want to let me know or let Mrs. Moran know, we're happy to make that arrangement with you. Mr. Gross, I was going to bring up the retirement refund that we're expecting from the state.
Sure.
Are you good with me to do that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we are anticipating a one-year, one-time reduction in our costs associated with retirement. That will be coming to us in the form of a check. We don't know how much, and we don't know when. So at this point, It is Mr. Gross and my recommendation to accept that check and just use it as unanticipated revenue to offset the tax rate. So at this point, we have no recommendation of spending that check. We're not looking to go forward. We don't know the amount, and we don't know when. Do you have any new updates on that, Scott?
They said that they thought it would be this week, so I alerted Becky, but
Okay.
that's what they told me was, and it was going to be one check for all three entities, New Boston, Goffstown, and the SAU, and then we would have to move the money around, shall we say, cut checks to the other, or move funds to the other districts. But again, the intent of the legislation was for property tax relief, and that should, in my opinion, be honored.
Agreed. So Scott and I are in full alignment on this, so unless the board wanted to do anything different with that money, that would be our recommendation. So when
Ellen,
we...
I'm sorry, Brian, you had your hand up?
Do we need, as a board, or can we do it this evening, to approve acceptance of the tax?
We don't know.
Yeah, we don't have to.
We don't have to,
So at
okay.
this point, and actually, if the board did nothing, by default, it would automatically
Just
go
be-
into our fund
okay.
balance and would bring tax relief in that form. So
Okay.
but we'll let you know when we finally,
Yeah, and the only
hear
reason
the
it was
amount.
brought, we wanted to disclose it was because, well, now the tax rate has been set for Goffstown.
Right.
But prior to that, had we gotten the check, I would have needed some direction, but it's,
Right, because
these checks are coming in so late,
Because-
by default, it's going to offset the taxes for everyone.
Yeah.
We have voted on this in the past, haven't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you did.
Exact.
Yep.
Yep, and in fact,
Yep.
the vote you can do, but I would say maybe we wait till we get the amount for sure, but I think, I think the board's intent is certainly the same as ours, which is to use it for tax relief.
Okay.
So we wanted to let you know there is a new development happening that's called Village at Hadley Station. This is a new development near the Goffstown Shell Station, and we are anticipating, I believe, 30 three-bedroom units. So we did want to let you know that we have concerns about that. The concerns continue to be focused around elementary enrollment. So if we have an influx of students, I would say K through grade 4, we will be challenged by that. Middle school, high school, I think we can easily accept additional kids and it won't really impact us unless they were large clusters in particular grade levels. But we wanted to let you know that we have written, Mr. Gross has written a letter for the board outlining the concerns to be sent to the planning board and to, again, sort of speak to elementary enrollment. And we're asking for the developer to do a study and to evaluate what the potential impact is on school enrollment. And the second thing that we're asking the developer to do is to consider the location of a school bus stop. So this would be private property. So where would the bus stop go? Where would the kids be? What are the potential implications as we get into thinking about sort of the logistical challenge that this would bring? So we wanted to make sure that the board was in agreement with that. Mr. Gross did write a draft letter, and I think, Scott, do you want to speak to this?
It's really what you said, Brian. I think the two primary issues are kind of getting a feel for, like, what impact might we have if we have 30 three-bedroom units. Now, we heard some preliminary work from Mr. Fougere, but the request in this letter is to have the applicant conduct some sort of a demographic review to give us more clarity on what we could expect in terms of students entering our schools. And then the second one does deal with the bus stops. It's my understanding that this development has a private road, and I could be wrong there, but that also has implications as to bus stops because we don't go down private roads. My concern is also the fact that we have a bus stop on Mast Road, which is kind of busy. And again, I think we need more clarity from either the applicant or the planning board with respect to, is it a private road or a public road? How far will it be from these residences, these townhouses? And those are the two biggest issues that we have.
Go ahead, Ellen.
Just real quick, if I'm remembering the numbers we had from that facility group, I think it was like 1.6. It was 1.6 per unit. So that's like 45 children from this one development.
Right.
Because they're 3 bedrooms.
Right.
That's huge for a school district that at least our lower grades are topped out. I
And-
just
and
want the
again-
public to be aware
Right.
that,
I want to make it also clear for the minutes that Mr. Fougere did it based upon turnover and some limited data. What we're asking for is a more complete demographic type study for this, not,
So Scott, I'd like to pass the draft
Yeah.
of the letter around, just so board members can take a look, and just make sure that everyone's sort of in concurrence with this. And I think I sent enough around each direction. There should be plenty going around over to Wendy as well. So this basically says it, so if the board wants to just take a quick look at this, and make sure that the board is in concurrence.
Everybody good with the letter? Have any questions?
Still reading.
yeah, these kids couldn't walk 1 mile on Mass Road and be safe.
No, it's
So where the heck would they go?
a busy road. Everybody good with this letter? Dan?
I'm okay.
Okay, thank you. Everybody, no questions? Okay.
Okay.
All right,
So,
thank you.
yeah, we'll send that to the planning board on your behalf. Thank you, Mr. Gross, for taking the initiative to do that as well.
Yeah, thank you.
So I wanted to let the board know, after much discussion, the Italy trip, remember the Italy trip? It's happening. So I'm very appreciative. We have 2 wonderful teachers who have stepped up and volunteered, and they are coordinating a new Italy trip that is all happening. I think they're holding an informational meeting this week.
Thursday.
And the teachers are Abby Andrews and Kurt McDermott. So 2 wonderful teachers that I would feel very comfortable having chaperone my kids if they were going. So I'm very excited for that. And Abby, who many of you will remember, Abby has been a longtime teacher here at the high school. After begging, pleading, and groveling, we convinced Abby to continue on and be a part-time middle school teacher for us. So I'm so grateful that Abby is still working for us, and her love for kids and love for travel and culture remains constant. So I'm very excited that she's doing this. And she actually reached out to me about some other interest in a few other trips. So I told her, great, and continue to work on that. And we're happy to bring her to the board for your consideration. So the Italy trip is a go. With a lot of hard work, Mrs. Kohler and the team, we are ready to onboard tutor.com. Do we have a date, Wendy?
So we're going to onboard the high school first because it's a little bit easier because the entire building will be able to have access to it. It's going to take us a little bit longer because we have to manually do it at the middle school since 5th grade doesn't have the option of being able to utilize it. But I believe for the high school it's going to be ready to go this week on the 10th.
Great. So we're excited about this. I think that this is a really interesting initiative. I'm appreciative of the New Hampshire Education Department's work on this, and we are fully on board with implementing this. There will be a button built into Schoology that students can just click the button, and it will queue up that they have a need for tutoring, and it will basically say what subject area and what grade, and off they go. And there is, it is an online platform. There is no face-to-face. There is no video. There is the ability to use audio, but there is a transcript of every call. I'm very comfortable with the safety features that the department has put in place. So I think this is a really good thing. We had a meeting with the commissioner today, and I was pretty surprised. It's actually a pretty short list that is signed up for. I think that at this point there's probably less than 30 school districts that are signed up. But we're ready to go. So we'll have that, as soon as we can go live. And when Wendy shared that it's harder to do it as a whole building, the program is only for grades 6 through 12. So the middle school is tricky and complicated because we have 5th grade there. We can't just sign the building up. It has to. It's much more involved because of the age of the kids. And we'll have the same situation at New Boston Central School because 6th graders at New Boston will be the only students in the building that will be able to access that. So that also is a little more complicated. But I'd like to thank Wendy for her hard work in getting this up and running. And again, I'd like to thank specifically the department, and I'd like to thank the commissioner for this effort. We are holding a meeting this Thursday for abutters here at Goffstown High School to review the turf field and lights project with them. We don't know what kind of a response we'll get, but we're excited to have the discussion with those who live in close proximity here to the high school. That's happening Thursday at 6 p.m., I believe, Scott?
Yeah, room 105.
In room 105, so anyone who's interested. And then that same evening, the Budget Committee will be in this room at 7 p.m. And Scott shared with me that the Budget Committee went through a good chunk of the school district budget last week. They got through the district budget and all of the elementary budgets. So they will pick up this Thursday with the middle school and the high school, and we are scheduled, Mrs. McGrath and I are scheduled to go be with them, I believe, a week from this coming Thursday, which I think is the 17th, if my calendar is correct, to present the contract for the support staff to the Budget Committee. So we'll be very excited to share that. And just to share a little more about that with the public, we've reached a tentative agreement with our support staff union. And this evening in non-public session, the board will discuss the details of the contract, and the board will then consider a vote to ratify the contract. So we'd like to thank the negotiating team for their hard work, including our 3 board members who participated on that, and we'll look forward to further discussion this evening. So that's all I have this evening, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Shane.
Thank you. Brian, I know we discussed the tutor.com over a month ago now. Since then, I've had conversations with some people who have said that there's been some concerns about both their vetting process and their data privacy. Have you heard of any of those concerns yourself?
I have. So the data privacy has been taken care of. Okay. So we also had originally heard that there was an issue with that. What I was told directly from the commissioner and from the Department of Ed's, the Education Department's attorney, is that those pieces are all taken care of. I can't speak to their vetting process. I don't know exactly what they do, but I do know I have a friend of mine who's a superintendent in New Hampshire, and she used to work for Tutor.com, and this was a number of years ago, but she described them as a very strong, positive company. She thought that they had their act together and was impressed with them when she worked for them. So I can't speak to the vetting process, but I can speak to the data privacy has been taken care of.
Great, thank you.
And I will share that some school districts were concerned about this. I think I have less concern because there's no information shared except for the fact that it is a 7th grade student from New Hampshire. I think first names are used, and that's the extent of it. There is no video, there's no sharing of information, and there is a transcript of every exchange, whether it's a typing in a chat box or it's an audio clip of an exchange. There is a transcript available. So if a student said, a tutor made an inappropriate comment to me, I find out about that, I can have a transcript of that the next day. So I think that there is a fair amount of security associated with this. Wendy, would you add anything to that?
Yeah, I think you're spot on. That was part of what they talked about, is that transcript being available, even if it was, if they're using the keyboard rather than talking back and forth, everything is available for you to be able to get as a school district. We're also able to get analytics on who's using it for what subjects. We can get all of that information to find out how widespread is this used. I know Brian's mentioned in the past that we get this for 2 years for free from the Department of Ed, so we'll be waiting to see what those analytics look like when we get rolling. I honestly think a lot of our high school students will take advantage of the SAT coursework more than anything because we have so many, tutoring and extra help offerings here at the high school. But just alone with the SAT, they have a course that you can take, and there's also 30 practice tests that students can take prior to taking the SAT, which is pretty remarkable.
And for people who choose to take an SAT course, they're not cheap.
They're not.
So you can easily spend $1,000, a couple $1,000 taking one of these courses, or start with the free one.
Yep.
Start there. And if you find that you still have a need that you want to continue to learn more about that, great. But I would encourage people to start with the free one.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea and I love the cost. So I'm glad to hear that some of the questions have been taken care of or at least addressed.
And I would share that this is available to all New Hampshire students. So if you are a Goffstown student who is homeschooled or attends a private school, you're able to access this as well. And parents can call, so none of our parents need to do this, but anyone can call and set up an account directly with the state. So with us, it's all taken care of. That's going to be that button in Schoology. It's going to be easy. But if someone is homeschooled or something, they can make that contact themselves.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thanks, Shane. All right, so you're all set?
All set, thank you.
All right, moving on to old business, we have the mission statement.
Yes.
It's in our packet.
So you should all find the latest and final draft of the mission statement. First, thank you all for your comments at our last, I think it was 2 meetings ago. Really helpful, and I worked hard at getting them incorporated. We discussed it at the meeting this evening. So we're bringing it forward for your review and hopefully approval.
I'll move approval of the mission statement
All right,
as presented.
Motion
Second.
by Ellen, second by Shane. Any further discussion?
Just one little comment, if I may, because I'd like Mrs. Moore to have this in the record,
Okay.
if possible, in the minutes. On number 2, there's a word there that jumps out, and I want to make sure that we are all defining it the same way. So are we all defining equitable as fair and impartial, as the dictionary actually writes it? Because there are groups up there who have conscribed that word. And I want to make sure we mean it's fair and equitable. Not fair and equitable, fair and impartial. So if Mrs. Moran has that in the minutes, I'm good to go.
All right, thank you, Dan.
May I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Ellen.
I understand, I've read the same things about the word equitable, which I've personally never had a problem with, but I know there is out there someplace. Would it be better if we given fair and impartial access instead of using the word equitable? Would that make anyone feel better?
Well,
More specifically
you
clear?
asked the question, yes, it would make me feel better, but I mean, this is not a hill to die on for me.
Okay.
And I also looked up the word. I anticipated, and it's like, oh, I could change it. And I just feel like we're in agreement what equitable means. It's a single word. It makes it less clunky. And
I'm fine.
And I would say I agree with Mr. Cloutier's definition of that word in this sentence. I think that's exactly how I read this sentence.
All right, so I have a motion, I have a second. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of approving? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining? We're unanimous. Thank you, guys. That was a long,
Yeah, no, I think Retta did a really
Long
good job of putting it
process.
all together from all the pieces.
Agreed. Well done, Retta.
Yeah.
I appreciate all the feedback. It brought things to attention that I hadn't considered, so thank you.
Okay, so moving on, we have some second reads tonight. The only one that we're not going to move forward tonight is JFAB. That's going to go back to the policy committee on Monday night. So the rest of them, we've done first reads, we've done questions, we've done quite a bit with these. So we can go one at a time to move them forward. So we have BEDH, public participation at board meetings.
I'll move BEDH, please.
Okay, thank you, Ellen. Do I have a second? By Ginny. Okay, any further discussion?
Just one little
Yep.
question that says, did we make any provisions in here for a rogue chairman? Because it's happened before. Not the current, meaning.
Thank you for clarifying that.
No,
But no, I-
this is like
what a
all
road
time.
chairman
For
is?
What is a
instance,
road
if a
chairman?
chairman doesn't want to hear something that's being said, but the rest of the board does, the rest of the board should be able to overrule the chairman because it's our board. The chairman
Correct.
runs the meeting, but is there anything in here that you see or I see that would not, is there something
You
that?
mean by public comment? Because this is just public
Yes.
comment.
Only
Public
public comment. So a
participation.
public comment comes on and the chairman rules, gee whiz, you're done, I don't want to hear you. But one or more of us should be able to pipe up and say, well, I would like to either make a motion that we allow that to happen or something of that nature. Do you see anything in here that prohibits that? Because it doesn't
No.
have to be an overt statement
No,
that says.
not in this policy.
Okay, so you think we could do that if it were to happen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And there are other policies that talk about
Right.
agenda and public comment.
Yeah, and that's the
And we
reason I
can
kind of brought it
maybe
up,
put
as I
it in
don't
that
know.
one.
Okay.
And can you imagine any chairman saying no to some of this?
I don't know.
Let's move
All right, let's move forward. All right, so we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining? All right, we're unanimous. That's B, D, H. The next one is DO, fund balance.
Move approval of DO as presented.
All right, thank you, Ellen. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Shane. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, we're unanimous. Okay, FBB, enrollment projections. This is just to reaffirm.
Reaffirm, right?
Yep.
A move to reaffirm FBB.
All right, thank you, Ellen. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Shane, sorry, Ginny.
It's okay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, we're unanimous. GBE, employee rights and responsibilities.
You want to ask, can I ask a couple questions now, or do you?
Yeah.
I'll move it and then he can add.
Well, sorry, I got there first.
Okay.
No, go
that's
ahead,
fine.
Dan.
This isn't in a bubble. There is GBE, there's GBEA, there is GBEB.
Yep.
So what I did was I looked at them all and looked for a consistency, and the only thing I kind of found was we changed the word moral to ethical, but in the subsequent pieces, they talk about standards of exemplary conduct. And I don't know if that's something that should be there, are expected to fulfill their legal and standards of exemplary conduct.
Where are you
responsibility.
reading?
That's in one of the
Oh, in the
other
top.
two.
Okay.
That's, so it was in one of the other ones, and I
Yep.
didn't know, because ethical, I looked at the definition of moral, looked at the definition of ethical, one referred to the other. They're like this. They're kind of mixed up. And so I didn't know if it would make sense to have a standard of exemplary conduct, which, unfortunately, I didn't write it down, but it's in one of these others.
Yeah, it's in GBEA.
So, yeah, this was
Under A.
discussed in our policy committee meeting.
Okay, and you guys came up
Shane or
with-
Retta, you can chime in. And I know Kate has gone through all of these policies as well.
Yep.
So in GBE, it is switched to ethical.
Yep.
I think the committee felt that that was the best term
Okay.
to use. Where else did you want it?
GBEA has the actual statement at the end.
Yeah, GB, and so does GBE.
The only, in number 3,
On GBE,
GBE, it
Yep.
says adherence, support,
Bless
and
you.
enforcement of all education-related statutes and, this is the kicker, Department of Education regulations. Are they still called the Department of Education regulations, or are they called the Education Department of New Hampshire or something like that regulations? Because we hear that from the superintendent.
right,
Which one are they now?
are they supposed to?
Since we're doing it now, we might as well get it right.
Well,
now.
it should probably be.
Kate, do you
New
want
Hampshire
to
Education Department.
come up and, go ahead, Scott or Shane.
I just said it should probably be New Hampshire Education Department to make it in line with what it's called now.
Okay, so Denise, you
catch.
got that? Okay. All right, so are you,
I
So we're just doing GBE right now?
Yes, GBE.
Okay.
The number 9 says fulfillment of other responsibilities may from time to time be implemented or established by the school board or administration. And is the thought process, and the reason I'm saying this is I either want to capture it in the minutes or implement it in the policy, that the other responsibilities created by the administration was under the authority given by the school board, statutes, or New Hampshire Education Department regulations. I just don't want an administration willy-nilly doing anything unless it's under our authority or the policies that we've allowed them to do it.
So you want to add it after administration and
I
the
did.
sentence you just read?
I do.
Kate, do you want to speak to that? Because Kate,
I don't have an objection to what Dan just said. I
Okay.
think everything we do would exist within that realm.
I don't think it's
Yeah.
controversial,
No,
but
I
I think
don't.
it's plain in English,
Yeah.
if there's no
And for all
objection.
the people who will be here after us.
right. Well, Kate went through these quite a bit, and I just want to make sure.
So Dan, can you repeat?
Yes. After administration, I would say under the authority given by the school board, and I did through policy or other decisions of the board, statutes, or New Hampshire Education Department regulation. Did I get them all?
No, I think my only concern with that is limiting and narrowing that, and I haven't had an opportunity to process more the implications of that, but on any given day, we're asking staff to fulfill duties that arise based on need. And so I just wouldn't want to limit.
It would be based on, let's say, the GESS contract or the GEA contract. That's under the authority of not only the school board, but the general public, because it's in the contract.
And
That wouldn't be a problem.
And so because both of those contracts allow for management rights,
Yep.
that would be
That would fall under that.
appropriate.
Yep.
Okay.
That would be appropriate.
Okay, I'm okay with that then.
Okay. So
Okay.
Denise, did you get all of that?
For policy or other decisions of the board.
Okay, is all board members okay with that? All right, so since we did not make a motion, Dan, are you set?
I'm set, and I'll make a motion that we approve policy GBE as amended.
Perfect. Do I have a second? Second. By Ellen. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining? Okay, we're unanimous. Okay, GBEA, staff ethics and employee conflict of interest. Do I have a motion for this one?
A motion to approve recommended policy GBEA.
Okay, by Shane, do I have a second? By Ginny. Any further discussion?
Yeah, just a couple of questions, I think. When it says employees, do we ever define that of employees of the district? That's, we don't have to say that. I mean, I wrote that all over, but I think we're okay. Because in the beginning it says all employees of the district. Usually in the contracts, you put a parenthetical and a capital E for employees, because that's what we're talking about, is the employee. And then every other employee on page 2, it's all capital letters, so it works. It's inferred, but it's not direct. That's the only difference. And if you care to put that in there, that's not a hill I'm going to die on.
Capital E?
Capital E in
All
parentheses
employees.
after employees of the district.
In the first sentence?
In the first sentence, after the first 5 words. That would be a suggestion.
All right,
The other thing would be when it says make the well-being of students the fundamental value.
where are you?
Oh, I'm sorry, the first bullet under the letter B. Is it? That's very constricting, and I was wondering if it would be appropriate to have make the well-being of students a fundamental value for decision-making and actions. I don't want it to be the only one because, I mean, it is for most things, but it, like Kate was trying to say before, you don't want to put yourself in the box. I don't want to put this in a box, and I'm not sure when we make a decision, it's not a hill I'm going to die on because everything has to do for the well-being. You need a new boiler. You need a new roof. I don't think we sit down and say, okay, what's the goal of building of the students, although it's part of that. I can't think of an example. Maybe someone can come up with
But
one.
What does everyone else think? Because we've already done first reads, we've done questions. We're supposed to be moving these forward tonight.
Oh, I'm annoying you now, sorry.
No, we need to move on with these, or they have to go back to the policy committee.
Got it. That's pretty much the only other one I had.
So, make the well-being of students a fundamental value?
That's what I was thinking. I didn't, yeah.
Okay. Denise, do you have that? Okay. All right. So I have a motion, I have a second. I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor we have to amend it. Shane, you have to amend your motion.
Okay.
If you're good with it.
Yeah.
So you're okay to amend?
I think it's fine the way it is, but I'll amend it if it'll move it forward.
You don't have to if you don't want to.
That's okay. I'll amend it. The to A is, I think it is the thing we do, but it's okay.
Right.
So I'll amend it to make the well-being of students a fundamental value of all decision making.
Thank you, Shane. Jenny, do you amend your second? Okay. All right. We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining. Okay, moving on. GBEB, staff conduct. Do I have a motion to move this forward?
Move GBEB.
Thank you, Ellen. Do I have a second? By Shane. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Oh, that went fast. I'm not going to answer that. There's policies. District will be consistent with all rules, laws, and collective bargaining agreement, but it never says policies. That's what we're doing is the policy, and we don't even have that word in there.
For where?
The first paragraph that's in purple that's underlined. Any action taken regarding an employee's employment with the district will be consistent with all rules, laws, and collective bargaining agreements of a. We're doing this policy, and this policy isn't even part of that sentence.
It is in the first sentence.
It is?
It is.
Under
Where?
A, under A.
And, yes.
Second line.
Hang on. All employees that were abide by the laws and see. I don't.
Keep going.
Effect.
After the purple.
I read where it says policy up there, but it's a different topic in the third paragraph, isn't it?
School board policies can lead to.
Any action taken regarding an employee's employment with the district will be consistent with. So we're going to take an action, and the action won't be consistent with the policy, but it may be consistent, has to be consistent with rules, laws, and collective bargaining agreements. That's my argument.
Policies in the sentence before that.
All employees are expected, that's saying
employees
what,
are.
that's saying what the employees are.
Are you looking at the third paragraph, the purple?
Yes, with the underline.
Okay. So in the first sentence, it says school board policies can lead
Right.
to, okay.
Right, but the next one is
Any
what-
action taken regarding an employee's employment with the district be consistent with all rules, laws, and collective bargaining agreements.
but it doesn't say it's going to be consistent with any policy, even though it says it in the prior sentence. All it says is failure to abide by the policy, but we're not going to take any action. Don't we have policies that define the actions we're going to take? That's my argument.
I'd like to see policy in that sentence, please.
Where would you like it, Dan?
I would just put it in the rules, laws, collective bargaining agreements, and policies, but before, after, in between, wherever it reads.
So after agreements
And policy.
and if applicable before that.
Sure.
Okay, are you set?
Yes.
All right, Ellen, can you amend your motion?
Yeah, I was going to ask if I had a
Oh.
motion. Then, yes, I'll move to amend the motion
All
to
right,
include
thank you.
policy.
Shane?
Yes, yep.
Thank you. All right, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? All right, so JFAB is going back to policy.
Okay.
So JH, attendance, absenteeism, and truancy. Do I have,
Move to approve JH?
okay, by Ellen, do I have a second? Second. By Caroline?
I would just like to point out, if I might, that RSA 193:1, Roman 3, defines the term what a parent is in this policy. And a parent means, and it says it right here, means, when you say parent, guardian, or person having legal custody of a child. Because they've defined the word parent, we don't have to add legal guardian after everything. But if we decide to add legal guardian after everything, we should also add legal custody of a child, a guardian or a person having legal custody, to be consistent. It's either using the definition that's in the RSA or everything that's in the RSA. I think it's redundant. And it may give way to someone said, well, the RSA says 3 things, but then you said in the entire policy only 2 things. You missed that 3rd thing. So I happen to be a person having legal custody of a child. Therefore, I don't think you meant that to be me. This is some of the arguments that I have run through in my day job.
Does anybody else have an opinion on that? Because it was asked to be
Can I
put
ask?
in. Go ahead, Alan.
Yeah. Couple of things. Legal guardian is in some of our policies and not in all of them. So what our decision is here, I wasn't aware that parent had 3 different other things for it. Okay.
Right, under the
But
RSA.
2 other different things in the RSAs. I don't care either way. I understand, add the 3rd one, if you want to leave it at just parents. That makes me say, someone will come up and say, well, I'm the legal guardian, not the parent. And then, so we have to explain the statute unless we put, state the statute someplace else.
It is stated right there in
this policy?
the policy right here.
Yeah.
Okay, then leave it there, and I'm personally fine with taking out or legal guardian.
So all the red or legal guardian
As long as it's stated
comes out.
what a parent is, then I'm fine.
Anyone else?
I'm wondering why the or legal guardian was put there in the
Because
first
a
place.
board member asked for it to be put in.
Because it's in other policies.
It wasn't what the committee recommended.
Okay.
All right, so,
I'm fine with that.
all right, so Denise, sorry that you put them all in. Can you take them out? Okay, so Ellen, we need to amend your motion.
I move to amend my motion for JH.
All right, thank you, and Caroline?
Yes.
And you second it, all right, perfect. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, we're unanimous. Okay, the next one is JJ, which is co-curricular and extracurricular programs.
Move to approve policy JJ as presented.
Thank you, Shane. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Caroline. Any further discussion?
It's assumed that number 4 on the front page, co-curriculum, all clubs and student organizations, and we can't say as authorized and approved by the board because we haven't done that to everybody yet, but someday it will be, so we can't add that. But if you could turn to page 2 on number 3, the student must not have any outstanding financial obligations. I know this might sound silly because it might be assumed, but if we could add the 4 words "to the school district," that makes it really clear that, again, this is not a hill to die on, but financial obligations in my world are, I have a car loan, but it has nothing to do with the school district, so. And number 5, the principal may waive eligibility requirements under extenuating circumstances. Would you be amenable to subject to the approval of the superintendent? So we have collusion that needs to happen. Whenever we're taught doing the audit, you always try to get collusion. Collusion doesn't have to be a bad word, it can be a good word. And it's just that it's always good to have a boss. Everybody needs a boss.
So what's the words? With what?
Subject to the approval of the superintendent. Waiving eligibility requirements.
So you want to take the principal out?
No.
Or the principal
No.
and the superintendent? Add the
It's like
superintendent?
both. Yeah.
For what it's worth, I think that makes sense. We do that for other things where the principal and the superintendent, or the principal and myself sign off on student activity things, and so it kind of makes sense. And I also think that Dan's other friendly amendment that's school-related also makes sense.
Okay. Denise, do you have all that? Okay. All right, so Shane, I need you to amend your motion.
Yeah, I'll amend my motion to to add the obligations to the school district,
And the superintendent.
and then to add the superintendent
Okay.
collusion.
Thank you,
will.
Shane. And Caroline? Second. All right, thank you. All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining? All right, we're unanimous. All right, the next one is JJA, but we
I'll make a
recommend it to
motion.
delete this.
We delete policy JJA.
Thank you, Dan. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Shane. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining? Okay, the next one is JLCJ, concussion and head injuries.
Motion to approve.
By Ginny. Do I have a second? Second. By Caroline. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining? Okay, motion passed. And the last one, JLCJA, emergency plan for sports-related injuries and additional protocols for athletics participation.
Motion to approve.
By Ginny, do I have a second?
I'll s-
Oh, by Caroline?
I did have a question.
Yeah, go
Or
ahead.
really, it's a comment.
Sure.
And we had discussed this, I think, pretty in depth.
Yep.
And each school has their own emergency plan for sportsway. Is that correct?
As part of our EOP.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
But so each school has their own plan within?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Great.
And so the way that we did it, Shane, was for, let's say for the high school, the athletics emergency operations plan is embedded, whereas for Bartlett, there is no athletics plan. So we did it school specific.
Right, and I remember that was a question that we had at committee, is that,
Right.
does every school have their own? So, thank you, I just wanted to get that out there.
All right, thanks, Shane. All right, anything else? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining? Okay, motion passed. All right, thank you, everyone. And we'll probably be back with first reads from Monday night at the next meeting. So, we do have to add, a next section for old business. So Dan, Scott, do you want to explain the motion and what's happening for the default?
You can explain it and I'll make the motion.
Sure. So, at the last meeting, you'll recall that you brought forward both a proposed budget and a default budget and the associated total appropriation to the Budget Committee. What I recognized when we imported the data, the numbers, into our financial software system, we were short by over $24,000. What happened was, I gave you the number of $87,000, which I wanted to shift from proposed to default, but that number did not include the associated benefits like FICA and retirement. So that number should have been about $24,000 more. So the bottom line appropriation numbers are still the same, but I notified the A&F committee that when I presented or gave the budgets to the budget committee, I gave it to them with what I consider the correct default number. So this board needs to just amend their motion to reflect that.
So
Unless
I'd like to
anybody
make-
has any questions before Dan does it. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we amend our previous motion from the last meeting when we sent the budget to the budget committee, that the default budget would move from $52,193,941 to its correct number of $52,218,019.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
By Caroline. All right, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, and we're unanimous. Thank you, guys. So the new business, did we already?
We did that.
Did that, okay. Do you need a motion
we need a
for
motion?
that?
I'm content with not having a motion. You
was a
all
direct-
reviewed the letter. We
Okay.
discussed it in public. I think that's sufficient.
Okay,
And is that review part of our minutes, that we reviewed it?
yeah,
Okay.
should be. All right, so moving on to staffing.
So staffing, a few notifications for you this evening. We have 2 leaves of absence, one for Jillian Thompson and one for Tim Michaud. You'll see below, we have a substitute, long-term substitute. I continue to be eternally grateful to Mrs. St. Clair, who's one of our wonderful retired teachers who continues to help us out on a daily basis. So many thanks to Karen. No action required of the board for those. However, for your approval, we have 2 new middle school coaches joining us for our middle school B teams. So I'd like to welcome David Cardona and Christopher Freitas.
Anybody have any
approve?
Questions? All right. Ellen, motion to approve. Shane, you did second. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, okay, we're unanimous. Is that it for staffing?
That is, I do have one other quick one,
Okay.
but I'll do it under other business.
Oh, okay. All right, so other business.
Yeah, so I apologize. I forgot to share with the board during my superintendent's report. This past week, we had our annual I Am College Bound event here at the high school. I didn't report out on this, even though it was on my list. I apologize to Mrs. Lewis. But we had over 130 students who submitted college applications. And on that day, all applications to New Hampshire colleges and universities are free.
Nice.
So I heard the coolest story that I have to share with the board, very, very quick. Last year, on the I Am College Bound Day, there were 2 students that were encouraged to apply to Dartmouth College. And these 2 students were not planning to apply. In fact, one had already put a deposit down at another school. Both of them applied because it was free. They both got in, and they both went. So this is kind of the extreme example of a student going to a really prestigious institution of higher education, but this is just such a wonderful event, and Mrs. Lewis and our group of school counselors did a wonderful job. They had this room all set up, they had resources and supports, kids could come down during their prep, they had access to counselors, they were taking pictures, they had like a photo booth after kids had applied, and it was like this cool I Am College Bound thing. They just did a really nice job, and I'm so sorry that I neglected. It was on my list, and I forgot it, but I remembered.
Awesome, thank you, Brian. All right, so, yeah.
Can I just add to that, because the photo booth was awesome, and our daughter sent her picture, and my husband was like, "Did she get into college?" So it looked like it was a lot of fun.
And it's really created a nice culture around just encouraging kids to apply for schools. And we say to them, look, you may not choose to go, but it's free to apply.
Yeah.
So what have you got to lose?
Right.
Give it the old college try.
Because it's really
That's where it comes from.
expensive to
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks, Brian. Any other business that may legally come?
I remember those days.
Do we have none?
We do.
We do.
We do. All right,
We're gonna, we can say what it's for.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's to
for
discuss the
con-
contract.
So do we want to go in A or C first?
A.
Okay.
Move to go into non-public under A?
Yep.
Can I just say that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
RSA 91A311A.
And specifically, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee, or the disciplining of any such employee, or the investigation of any charges against him or her, unless the employee attendant has a right to a meeting, request the meeting be open and public to the public.
Okay.
Thank you, Ellen. Dan, seconds. All right.
I read that so
Sue,
well.
roll call. Retta?
Yes.
Ginny?
Yes.
Caroline? Yes. Shane?
Yes.
Ellen?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
And Heather, yes. We are in non-public, and we'll go to the...
We'll go down to the
Oh, we're going
conference room.
down. Okay.